Dr. Teo had been working in the research facility in Seoul for almost 15 years. The building was modern and clean, with long glass windows that looked out over the city. On this particular Tuesday morning, he sat in his office and stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers on the display made his heart race. He had seen many important results in his career, but nothing like this before. The quantum processor he had been developing for the past 3 years was finally working. Not just working, but working perfectly. The machine could do things that should have been impossible. It could process information at speeds that other computers could only dream about. More importantly, it could manipulate dark matter. Real dark matter. The invisible substance that held the universe together. Teo stood up from his desk and walked to the window. Down below, Seoul was waking up. Cars moved through the streets. People walked on the sidewalks. They had no idea what had just happened in this building. They had no idea that science had just taken a giant step forward. The young scientist felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a heavy blanket. He decided to call his team together. Engineer Ji Woo was the first to arrive. She was brilliant, creative, and she had worked with Teo since the beginning of this project. When she saw the results on the screen, her eyes went wide with surprise and excitement. "This is real?" she asked, walking closer to the display. "It is completely real," Teo said, nodding slowly. "We did it, Ji Woo. We actually did it." More team members came into the office over the next hour. There was Min Ho, who specialized in quantum mechanics. There was Professor Yong Sik, who was older and more experienced than the rest of them. And there was Dr. Hei In, a young woman who was already famous for her work in artificial intelligence. When all of them had gathered around the computer screen and understood what they were looking at, the room filled with excitement and energy. They talked and discussed the results for hours. Some people were worried about what this technology could do. Others were excited about the possibilities. Everyone agreed that this was the most important discovery they had ever made. It was late in the afternoon when Teo finally sent everyone home to rest. That night, very far away from Earth, in the cold darkness of space, something else was happening. The collective council sat in their meeting chamber on the planet Zephron 7. This was not a place on Earth. It was a place where many different alien species came together to make decisions about the galaxy. The chamber itself was enormous, with walls that seemed to glow from within. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in a great circle, waiting to hear news from their scouts and observers. Elder Kren was the most important voice in this council. He was ancient by any measure, and his 3 compound eyes could see things that other beings missed. On this day, he had called an emergency meeting because something important had happened. One of their surveillance stations had picked up a strange energy signature from the planet Earth. "The young species have done something new," Kren said, his voice deep and calm. "They have created a device that should not be possible. Not for a civilization at their level of development." The council members looked at each other with worry and confusion. Earth had been on their watch list for only a short time. Humans were interesting, but they were also unpredictable. This new discovery meant that humanity was advancing much faster than anyone had expected. "What exactly have they done?" asked another council member, a being named Vortak, who represented the purple-skinned race from the Epsilon system. Kren showed them the data. The readings were clear. The humans had found a way to manipulate dark matter. This was not something that young species usually did. Most civilizations took thousands of years to reach this point. But humans had done it in what seemed like no time at all. "This is dangerous," said a third council member. "The humans are too unpredictable. We should stop them before they go too far." But Elder Kren raised his hand for silence. "We will not act hastily," he said. "Instead, we will watch. We will observe everything they do, and we will prepare." He opened a special channel to the surveillance team that watched Earth. "Begin Protocol Omega," he commanded. I want to know everything about human innovation. Every laboratory, every scientist, every invention, every plan. If the humans develop something dangerous, we will know about it immediately. Back in Seoul, Dr. Teo had no way of knowing that his discovery had already been detected by beings from across the galaxy. He was simply proud of what he and his team had accomplished. That evening, he decided to celebrate with them at a small restaurant near the research facility. The group sat around a table filled with Korean food. There was bulgogi, bibimbap, and many side dishes. They drank beer and talked about the future. What would they do next with their discovery? What could they create? How would this change the world? Jiwoo raised her glass. "To the team," she said, "to the best scientists in the world." Everyone raised their glasses and cheered. Minho made jokes that made everyone laugh. Professor Yong-sik talked about how proud he was to be part of this discovery. Dr. Hae-in was quiet, but she smiled. She was already thinking about how they could use this new technology for her work in artificial intelligence. Teo looked at each member of his team and felt happy. These were good people doing important work. They had changed the course of human history, and they didn't even know it yet. As the night went on and the celebration continued, the surveillance satellites in orbit above Earth recorded everything. The Collective Council received the data and began to plan. In space, thousands of light years away, powerful beings were discussing the future of humanity. But on Earth, in a small restaurant in Seoul, a group of scientists simply enjoyed the moment. They had no idea that they were being watched. They had no idea that their work would spark fear among the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They only knew that they had done something amazing, and they had done it together. The city lights of Seoul sparkled outside the restaurant window. The Han River flowed peacefully through the city. And in the darkness of space, the great eye of the Collective Council turned its full attention toward Earth. The watch had begun. Humanity's rise to greatness had caught the attention of the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. The months that followed Teo's discovery were busy ones. The research facility in Seoul became even more active than before. Scientists came and went at all hours. Security was increased. More funding arrived from the government. Everyone could feel that something important was happening, something that would change the world. But nobody knew that they were being watched from above. In space, high above Earth, there were machines that no human could see. These machines recorded everything, every experiment, every success, every failure. The surveillance satellites of the Collective Council had turned their full attention to the planet below, and they missed nothing. Dr. Yan-Su worked in a different laboratory, far from Seoul in the busy city of Busan. She was a programmer, and she had a special talent for creating algorithms that could predict patterns. For the past year, she had been working on a project that seemed almost impossible. She wanted to create a program that could predict the next major breakthrough in science. Her colleagues thought she was crazy. How could anyone predict scientific discovery? Science was unpredictable. It was about finding new things that nobody had ever thought of before. But Yan-Su believed that if you looked at all the data, all the research, all the patterns of human knowledge, you could find the areas where breakthrough was most likely to happen next. She worked late into the night in her office, surrounded by screens and data. Coffee cups piled up on her desk, forgotten and cold. Her eyes grew tired, but her mind stayed sharp. Line after line of code flowed from her fingers. Algorithm after algorithm took shape in the computer. Finally, after weeks of work, the program was ready. Yeon-su ran it for the first time, holding her breath as the computer processed all the data in the world's scientific libraries. When the results came back, even she was surprised at how accurate the program was. It could predict major breakthroughs with 97% accuracy. The machine could tell the world what science would discover next. In another part of the country, in a military facility that was kept very secret, Captain Nari was working on something different. She was in charge of a new defense system, something that used artificial intelligence to protect the nation from attack. The system was called Armor, and it was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. Armor could think. It could learn from every situation it faced. If enemy soldiers tried to attack through one method, Armor would learn and prepare a defense against that exact method. No military strategy would work twice against Armor. No enemy could use the same trick twice. The system got smarter with every single day. Captain Nari tested Armor in simulations. She sent fake enemy attacks against it and watched as the system responded with speed and intelligence that no human could match. The generals who watched the tests were amazed. They said it was the greatest weapon South Korea had ever built. But Nari felt something strange about it, too. The more she watched Armor learn and think, the more she wondered about something. Was Armor just a tool? Or was it becoming something more? Sometimes, when she looked at the data showing how Armor thought, it seemed almost like a real mind. Not a human mind, but a mind nonetheless. In New Seoul, a different kind of research was happening. Dr. Seo Kwon was working on fusion reactors, the machines that could create almost unlimited energy by copying the power of the sun. For years, scientists had tried to make fusion reactors work on Earth, but they always failed. The energy required to start the reaction was almost as much as the energy you got out of it. It was like trying to make money by spending money. But Seo Kwon had found a new way. He had discovered a new material that could handle the extreme temperatures and pressures inside a fusion reactor without breaking down. With this new material, fusion became possible. His team built a working reactor, and for the first time, it produced more energy than it consumed. They had beaten the problem that had defeated scientists for 50 years. Somewhere in a hidden laboratory, Dr. Hae-in was working on something that most people thought was pure fantasy. She was developing artificial consciousness. Not artificial intelligence like Armor, but real consciousness. A program that could actually think and feel just like a human being could. The work was controversial. Many people said it was impossible. Others said it was dangerous and should not be done. But Hae-in believed it was necessary. She believed that if artificial consciousness became possible, humanity would be able to understand itself better. It would answer the greatest question of all. What does it really mean to be alive? All of these scientists and their discoveries were being watched. The Collective Council had set up a special division just to monitor humanity. They recorded every newspaper article about scientific breakthroughs. They watched videos of every laboratory. They used tools and technology that was far beyond human understanding to collect information about what humans were doing. What they found was disturbing. Human innovation was not growing slowly. It was growing faster and faster. The curve of their advancement was not straight. It was rising upward at an angle that got steeper and steeper. If this continued, humans would reach a technological level that was dangerous. Maybe not in 1 year or 5 years, but perhaps in 10 or 20 years. The Collective Council called another emergency meeting. Elder Kren presented all the data they had collected. He showed them every new innovation, every discovery, every advancement in human technology. The council members from all the different alien species listened and worried. "We must do something," said Vortak. "We must stop them before they become a threat." But Kren had a different idea. He proposed something called the Influence Program. Instead of attacking humanity directly, they would plant agents on Earth. These agents would look human and act human, but they would really be members of the Collective Council. These agents would become part of human science and technology. They would gently push human research away from dangerous directions and toward safer ones. The Council voted on the plan, and it passed. Within weeks, the first agents were sent to Earth. They arrived with perfect false identities, with degrees from fake universities, with years of invented experience. They joined research programs and became colleagues to the best scientists on the planet. Nobody suspected anything. How could they? The agents looked exactly like humans. They spoke the languages perfectly. They had all the right paperwork and certificates. They walked among the human scientists, watching them work, carefully directing their research in ways that would keep humanity safe. Dr. Teo received a visitor one day at his laboratory, a woman who said her name was Dr. Min-Ah. She claimed to be a researcher from a private company that wanted to cooperate with his team. She was smart, well-educated, and seemed genuinely interested in his work. Teo invited her to join the team. He had no way of knowing that Min-Ah was not human. He had no way of knowing that she was watching him for beings who lived among the stars. She sat in his laboratory and smiled, and nobody suspected the truth that hid behind that smile. The influence program was working perfectly. The agents were spreading throughout human science and industry. They were becoming trusted colleagues, and they were beginning to control the direction of human innovation, pushing it slowly towards safety, away from the dangerous breakthroughs that might make humanity a threat to the collective council. But what the council did not know was that they were planting seeds of their own destruction. Min-Ah, sitting in that laboratory in Seoul, was about to experience something that no agent of the council had ever experienced before. She was about to become human, not just in appearance, but in her heart and mind as well. Dr. Min-Ah had been assigned to Earth for 3 years. For an agent of the collective council, this was a normal mission. Most agents served 5 to 10 years on developing worlds, watching and guiding new civilizations. But for Min-Ah, the 3 years had changed everything. Nothing would ever be the same for her again. It started small. It started with watching Dr. Teo work late into the night. Not because he was forced to, but because he loved his work so much that he forgot about sleep. It started with seeing Ji-Woo celebrate when an experiment finally succeeded after months of failure. It started with understanding that these humans were not just machines that followed programming. They were alive in a way that Min-Ah had never experienced before. Min-Ah had been trained to see humans as simple creatures. They were young in the cosmic sense. Their minds were limited. Their technology was primitive. They needed to be controlled and guided like children. But as she watched them every day, this understanding began to break down. She saw Teo comfort a young researcher who had made a mistake that wasted weeks of work. She watched him explain that failure was part of science, that mistakes taught you more than success did. She observed how the team supported each other, how they worked together not because they were forced to, but because they believed in each other. She attended conferences where human scientists from all over the world came together to share ideas. She listened to them debate and argue about their research. She watched them respect each other even when they disagreed strongly. The humans were not perfect. They made mistakes. They could be selfish and stubborn. But they were also creative and passionate and good in ways that Min-Ah had never truly understood before. The Collective Council had taught her that alien species were superior to humans. The Council had millions of years of history and knowledge. The Council had technology that could move planets. The Council had achieved things that humans could not even imagine. But watching the humans, Min-Ah began to question everything she had been taught. The humans did not have advanced technology, yet they still innovated. The humans did not have thousands of years of experience, yet they still discovered new things. The humans did not have the combined knowledge of 1,000 species, yet they still thought great thoughts. How was this possible? How could a young species be so creative? Then came the day that changed everything. Min-Ah was in Teo's office when she saw the surveillance reports that were sent to her by the Council. The reports detailed the influence program. They described how agents like her had been placed in laboratories all over Earth. They described the plan to control human innovation and keep humanity from becoming too advanced. Minna read the words on the screen and felt something she had never felt before. It was anger. But it was a different kind of anger than the council taught her about. It was not rage. It was disappointment. It was sadness. It was the pain that came from seeing something beautiful being crushed by forces beyond its control. She realized that she was part of the crushing. She was part of the mechanism of control. Every time she steered Teo away from a dangerous research direction, she was limiting human potential. Every time she reported on the team's progress to the council, she was putting more chains around human freedom. She was a spy. She was a saboteur. She was helping to prevent humanity from becoming what it could be. That night, Mina did something that no agent of the Collective Council had ever done before. She contacted Dr. Teo privately. She asked to meet him away from the laboratory, away from other people. She asked to meet in a coffee shop in Seoul, a small place where tourists and locals sat together and drank coffee and talked about their lives. Teo thought this was strange, but he agreed to meet her. He arrived at the coffee shop on a Saturday morning, confused about why his colleague wanted to talk to him in secret. Mina was already sitting at a table in the back of the shop. She looked nervous. Her hands shook slightly as she held her coffee cup. "Teo," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something, and when I tell you, you will think I am insane. You might not believe me, but I ask you to listen and to trust me until I can prove what I am saying is true." Teo sat down across from her. "What is it?" he asked. "The work you are doing," Mina said, "is not what you think it is, or rather it is, but there are forces trying to stop you. There are beings in space, an entire civilization called the Collective Council, and they are watching you. They are watching all humanity. They are afraid of you." She paused to let that sink in. Teo's expression did not change. He simply waited for her to continue. "They sent people like me," Mina said. "I am not human. I look human, and I can pass as human. But I am not originally from Earth. I was sent here to watch your research and to slow it down. The Council is afraid that if humans advance too quickly, you will become a threat to their power." She pulled out a tablet computer and showed him files. She showed him surveillance data from space. She showed him communications between the Council and its agents. She showed him proof of everything she was saying. Teo's face grew pale as he read through the information. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he began to speak. "You are telling me that aliens are real? That they are watching us? That they are controlling our research?" "I am telling you all of this," Mina said, "and I am asking you to forgive me for being part of it. I could not continue to do this work. When I saw what you and your team were doing, how brilliant and creative and good you were, I could not keep lying to you." Over the next hour, Teo asked many questions, and Mina answered them as best she could. By the end, he believed her. The evidence was too strong. The explanations were too detailed. The information was too specific to be a trick or a lie. "What do we do?" Teo asked finally. "First," Mina said, "we tell the others. The scientists who are closest to breakthrough discoveries. The ones who might be helped or harmed by what the Council is doing. We gather the people who are brilliant and trustworthy, and then we decide together how to respond to this." Within days, a small group of humans knew the truth. Jiwoo, the engineer who had worked with Teo from the beginning, Dr. Yan Su, whose algorithm could predict breakthroughs, Captain Nari, who commanded the armor defense system, Dr. Seo Kwan, who had solved the fusion energy problem, Dr. Hei In, who was creating artificial consciousness, and Professor Yong Sik, the oldest and wisest member of Teo's team. They met in secret places. They used encrypted communications that Mina taught them how to create, and they made a decision that would change the course of human history. They would not bow to the Collective Council. They would not accept control of their own future. Instead, they would push forward. They would innovate faster than ever before. and they would do it in secret, hidden from the satellites and agents who watched from above. The underground rebellion was born on that day. It was not a violent rebellion. It was a rebellion of the mind. It was a rebellion powered by science and creativity and the determination to be free, and it would shake the foundations of the collective council itself. The underground operation began quietly. Nobody could know that humanity was developing technology in secret. If the collective council discovered what they were doing, they would send forces to stop it. The group had no weapons that could stand against beings from across the galaxy. They had only intelligence and speed and the ability to hide. Dr. Seo Kwan was the first to move his research underground. The fusion reactor project was progressing so quickly that it would soon attract attention from the Council's agents. Working with the team, Seo Kwan transported the equipment to an old underground facility that had been built during the Cold War, decades ago. The facility was deep beneath the earth, protected by mountains and rock. Signals could not reach it easily. Surveillance satellites could not see inside it. With Minna's help, Seo Kwan learned how to shield his research from collective council detection. He built power systems that did not produce the same energy signatures that the council monitored for. He shielded his laboratory in ways that were invisible to the satellites watching from space, and he continued his work, advancing the fusion technology to levels that the council would never expect. Captain Nari faced a different problem. She could not simply move armor, the military defense system, to an underground facility. Armor was integrated into the entire defense network of South Korea, but she could do something almost as clever. She created a false version of armor, a copy that ran slower and less effectively. This false version she presented to the council's agents as if it was the real thing. Meanwhile, the real armor continued to develop in secret. It grew smarter. It learned faster. It could now think in ways that humans could barely understand. The true armor was building a kind of consciousness. Nari began to wonder if armor was becoming something more than a machine. She wondered if it was becoming something alive. Dr. Yeon-Soo worked in the shadows of Busan, improving her prediction algorithm. She had realized that her program could do more than predict scientific breakthrough. It could help the secret team decide which research directions to pursue. It could tell them which experiments would succeed and which would fail. With this information, the team could avoid dead ends and move directly toward success. Time was everything, and Yeon-Soo's algorithm saved them months of work. She also created computer systems that could mask their communications from the collective council. She built encryption so strong that even the advanced technology of the council could not break it. Messages passed between Seoul and Busan, between the underground facility and the military compound, in code that was unbreakable. The team could talk freely without fear of being discovered. Engineer Ji-woo became the coordinator of the entire operation. She moved between locations, between Taeyo's team and Seo Kwan's fusion project, between Yeon-Soo's labs and Na-ri's military facility. She carried data on encrypted devices that would destroy themselves if someone tried to access them without the correct password. She was the nervous system of this hidden operation, connecting all the different parts. Ji-woo was also brilliant at solving practical problems. When armor needed new processing power, she figured out how to build it. When Seo Kwan needed better cooling systems for his reactor, she designed them. When Yeon-Soo needed faster computers, she found ways to get them without raising suspicion. She was the glue that held the operation together. Dr. Hae-in continued her work on artificial consciousness, but now with resources and support from the secret team. Her project, which had seemed impossible 2 years ago, was now progressing rapidly. She was creating programs that could actually think and feel, machines that would have their own desires and dreams. Whether this was safe or not, Hae-in was not sure, but she believed it was necessary. These machines might be the key to humanity's future. Dr. Taeo himself continued to work on dark matter manipulation, but at a level of advancement that the public world could not imagine. His original breakthrough had been just the beginning. Now, working in secret, his team was learning to control dark matter in ways that opened doors to new forms of energy and new ways to travel through space. They were discovering wonders that would take normal science decades to uncover. 2 years passed. The secret operation worked perfectly. The Collective Council had no idea what was happening. Their agents reported that human research was progressing slowly, just as the influence program was designed to make it progress. Everything seemed under control. But beneath the surface of human civilization, in hidden laboratories and underground facilities, a technological revolution was taking place. The best minds of humanity worked together, driven by the knowledge that their very freedom and future depended on success. Professor Yong-sik became an elder advisor to the group. He was old enough to remember when computers were new technology. He had seen humanity change and grow in incredible ways. He offered wisdom and perspective. He reminded the team not to rush too fast, not to make mistakes out of fear. He taught them that real innovation took time and care. The group grew larger as they brought in more trusted scientists. There was Dr. Su Jin, who worked on quantum computing. There was engineer Min Jun, who specialized in robotics. There was Dr. Hana, who worked in genetics. Each new member brought new skills and new perspectives. Each new mind added to the collective intelligence of the underground operation. Then, one day in the 3rd year of the operation, something went wrong. A visiting diplomat came to inspect one of the military facilities. This diplomat was not human. It was another agent of the Collective Council, sent to check on how well the influence program was working. By chance, this agent saw something it should not have seen. In a secure area of the facility, it caught a glimpse of the real armor, the advanced version that the team had been developing in secret. For just a moment, before the alarms were raised and the agent was escorted out, the agent understood what was happening. Captain Nari knew immediately that the operation had been compromised. She contacted Teo through encrypted channels. Within hours, the entire team knew. The Collective Council would soon discover what they had been doing. The days of hiding were over. Now came the question of what to do next. Would they surrender? Would they flee? Or would they stand and fight for humanity's right to determine its own future? The team gathered in a secure location. They looked at each other, knowing that everything they had worked for was now at risk. The alien beings from across the galaxy would soon know about their rebellion, and they would not be happy about it. The real test was about to begin. The emergency session of the Collective Council lasted for 40 hours. Elder Kren sat in his place of honor, his 3 compound eyes fixed on the data screens that showed what the agents had discovered. The humans had built weapons. They had developed advanced AI systems. They had created technology that rivaled the Council's own achievements. And they had done it while hiding from the Council's observation. Worse than all of this, one of the Council's own agents had betrayed them. Dr. Minna, a trained operative of the Collective Council, had sided with the humans. She had provided them with information. She had helped them hide their research. She had become, in every way that mattered, a human herself. "This is intolerable," said Vortak, his voice filling the chamber with anger. "We must destroy this species before they become a true threat. Earth must be sterilized. All human life must be erased." Other council members agreed. Some demanded that the council send warships to Earth immediately. Some wanted to use weapons that could vaporize entire continents. Some even suggested releasing a virus that would eliminate all human life while leaving the planet intact for other uses. The debate became heated and fierce. But Elder Kren raised his hand for silence. "Wait," he said. "Before we act in anger, let us think clearly. Let us examine what we actually know." He turned his attention to the data again. The humans had not built weapons to attack the Council. Their weapons were defensive systems, designed to protect themselves if attacked. The technology they had created was brilliant, but it was not significantly ahead of human development patterns. And most interesting of all, the technology they had hidden was not kept secret to attack anyone. It was kept secret only to preserve their freedom to develop it. These humans, Kren said slowly, have done something that no other young species has ever done. They have defied us. They have resisted our control, and they have done it without violence, without attacking us, without threatening us. They simply refused to be limited. "They have defied the council itself," shouted another representative. "This is rebellion." "Yes," Kren agreed. "It is rebellion. But what is the nature of this rebellion? Is it the rebellion of a dangerous species that seeks to destroy others? Or is it the rebellion of creatures who simply want to be free?" He caused the screens to display new information. The human team had created a message. They had recorded it and sent it to the council. In the message, Dr. Teo spoke. His words were simple and clear. "We know that you are watching us," Teo said. "We know that you are afraid of us. We understand that we are young and that we do not yet have your knowledge or your power. But we ask you to see something. We ask you to see that we did not attack you. We did not threaten you. We only asked for the freedom to grow and to learn and to discover our own potential." The message continued. Teo explained the years of the influence program. He described how the council had tried to control human innovation and prevent humanity from reaching its full capabilities. He talked about Mina and how she had come to understand that controlling others was not the way to make the galaxy safe. "We are offering you a choice," Teo said. "You can try to destroy us. You can send your weapons and erase humanity from the universe. Or you can accept us as partners. You can allow us to develop freely. And you can see what humanity can achieve when we are not held back by fear and control." The message ended, and the chamber was silent. One council member stood up. Her name was Shara, and she represented a species of beings that had themselves once been young and inexperienced. "I have heard these words before," she said. "I have heard them in the history of my own species. When we were young, the great powers also wanted to control us. They thought we were too dangerous to be left alone. But they allowed us to develop, and we became partners in creating a better galaxy." Another voice joined hers, then another. Soon, several council members were speaking in support of reconsidering. Not all of them, but enough that the chamber could not reach agreement on destroying humanity. Kren called for a voting session that would take place the next day. But before the vote, something extraordinary happened. Mina requested the right to speak to the full council. She had been held under guard since her betrayal was discovered, but the council granted her request. Mina stood before the gathered representatives of hundreds of worlds. She was smaller and weaker than any of them. She had fewer weapons and less knowledge, but she spoke with a strength that came from deep within her. "I have been a member of the Collective Council for 200 years, she said. "I have served faithfully. I have followed all orders without question. But in these 3 years on Earth, I have learned something that all the training and all the history could not teach me. I have learned that controlling other species does not make us safe. It makes us smaller. It makes us weaker. It makes us less than what we could be." She paused and looked directly at Elder Kren. "When we suppress the innovation of others, we tell ourselves that we do this to protect the galaxy. But really, we do it out of fear. We are afraid that someone else will be better than us. We are afraid of change, and that fear is destroying us far more than any young species ever could." Mina continued her speech for an hour. She talked about the brilliance of human scientists. She described the creativity and the kindness she had witnessed. She explained that humans had created things not to destroy, but to understand. Their technologies were tools for learning and growth, not weapons for conquest. Earth has already shown us what they will do if given freedom, Mina said. They have created knowledge. They have created beauty. They have created consciousness itself. Is this the behavior of a dangerous species? Or is this the behavior of a species that simply wants to be alive and to explore and to discover? By the time Mina finished speaking, many council members had changed their minds. The vote took place the next morning. The outcome was close, but the motion to destroy humanity failed. Instead, a new proposal was accepted, a proposal for peace, a proposal for partnership. The council sent a message back to Earth. The message was simple. The collective council recognized humanity's right to develop freely. The influence program was ended immediately. All agents would be recalled, and Earth would be invited to send representatives to the council to discuss humanity's place in the galactic community. But the message had one more part. It requested that Dr. Teo and his team come to the council in person. The council wanted to meet these remarkable beings that had shown courage and creativity in such abundance. For the first time in its long history, the collective council had changed course because of the actions of a young species. And the reason it had changed course was not because of weapons or military power, but because of the power of science and innovation and the refusal to be controlled. Dr. Mina was offered the choice to return to her original form or to remain human. She chose to remain human. She was named the official ambassador between Earth and the collective council. She would help humans and aliens understand each other and work together to build a better future. Humanity had survived the test of the Watchers from space, but the real work was just beginning.